Hello and welcome to day 76 of 365 days towards racial change. My name is Tom Lenz and I'm back. Let's see, 76. 76ers, maybe you're from Philly. Actually, I've watched them for a couple years. They're actually starting to gain some momentum. I think that Super Bowl victory helped that town out a whole lot. Bless you if you're from Philly. We're at day 76, part 2 of chapter 7, Uncle Tom's Cabin. We'll get to all that in a moment. Well, we'll start with our introductions. If you're new to this very discreet, almost esoteric forum, it's public, but we welcome you here. Please leave comments and likes and stuff. I got to get all that stuff. But anyway, let's get to our introduction. What we're doing here is exploring Black life in America, maybe finding some ways to combat, move against the power structure in place in this country. We're not here to hate, but we want to have the tools, at least starting with some knowledge and understanding about the mechanics of how this system is working. On the surface, it appears to be to discriminate against color lines, which it has and which is done. Most of our roots we gather from slavery and work things out along that line. But my guess is like those in power, those that manipulate, control, and structure, would do that, would find some reason to do that. We happen to do it here along color lines. But in other countries where people are the same color, they have their ways of keeping a marginalized portion of their population in place, just as America does. America is so fortunate. They got a color line to discriminate against. 500-600 years ago, or we'll say maybe 300-400 years ago, they had oceans separating them so they could harness and sequester their power. They ran into free labor out of Africa, free land here in America. All these very fortunate turn of events for America. It's interesting as I study. It was just like there's a video I've done. It's like it's a comedy of opportunity, I think it's called, and I just illustrate all these fortuitous advantages. Had America stayed loyal to these kings, queens, and monarchs for just one more day, I don't think we'd have an America that we have now. We'd have a monarchy separated by an ocean, a very unique, powerful monarchy. But those men, white men and Europeans, saw the opportunity and they took it, baby. But now you got this marginalized people, most of us along the color lines, through attrition, laws, slavery, all this stuff, we find ourselves vulnerable in America, and very few of us really have serious access to the wealth and resources of America. So with that, I'm finding two ideas coming out, two philosophical thoughts to think about. The first thought has two parts. First part is, does the slave mind still exist for Black Americans? Are the majority of Black Americans living in a slave orientation? Let's just break away and segue. economically and financially, yes, that's really the bulk of our conversation here. We talk about everything, but the foundation is getting some wealth and resources. But I'm going to say yes, economically, because think about it. If you don't own your home, if you're paying your bills to another man or woman or organization, conglomerate, real estate group, then you don't own your land. You're still working for someone else. And these landowners are not stupid. Think about your payment, and you are paying their bills. I'm learning this as I go along. These rents and things, you're not helping out to help them pay, and they are using your efforts and all that, and they're having you pay their mortgages, pay their rents. They just own this land, however they came about it. And they're going to do everything in their power to prevent you from doing that. So in that vein, blacks especially, majority of us, are still working out the slave dynamic. It's labor that shows up, and we are giving our any excess leftovers to a higher organization, man or woman, who owns the land, and we still have to fend, and what's left over, eke out our insurance and food and cars and transportation needs, clothing, and all that, And it never lets up. It's a greed thing. I'm not going to go along into that. So that's the one way the slave mind perpetuates itself. If we're in the home, think about what we teach our kids. We're teaching them how to be good. As far as black kids, we're teaching them how to be good employees for someone. Teaching them not to even think about ownership. Is there a conversation about land ownership around the dinner table if you eat around the dinner table? Maybe some people are probably so attached, especially younger children, our entertainment in the palm of our hands, That's another discussion. We got another subject to get to today, but that's the one vein of the first part. Second vein, does the white mind of entitlement, privilege, expectation of favor prevail? If I had grown up in a white home, in a well-to-do white home, because not all white people are just automatically doing well. They have their issues and struggles as well. But I am expecting most white homes, economically, are doing well, and their discourses and their conversations are about money, success, business ownership, at least self-employment, at least, not employment, but self-employment to begin with, running a business, being an investor. That's heavy-duty stuff. Not so much for the black family. And then in that is the germ of how one is going to navigate the rest of their lives in America. Is that passed down from generation to generation with white folks, with their white children? Talking to a coworker, and he's got 5 figures of money, not a whole lot. It's between 15 and 20 grand that he can shuffle in the system and he knows how to manipulate it and stuff like that. Not a rich man by any means and all that. But he's got that kind of capital to make decisions with and all that. Me, I got a couple $100. We are now even the poorest American is probably much more wealthier than a whole lot of the rest of the world. But it's scalable, so I don't want to play any tricks on you. It's scalable. I know compared to the rest of the world, I'm living like a king. But if I start doing comparisons, I'll get down the mouth. But it's interesting that he can play with it. I got another friend talks about being in poverty and the poverty line, how it's making 30 grand a year is not enough and stuff. I'm like, wow, dude, 30 grand a year would be a gift to me. But that's how I grew up, you know. I'm watching my mother and father labor, giving all their energy to the system so they can secure some security for us children, their security for some future, a house over their head, food and clothing, you know. But most of it is being given up, you know. So does the white mind of privilege, entitlement, expectation of favor get passed on from generation to generation? I'm biased. You probably already know my answer, but we want to wade through. We got a whole year to look at these issues. So those are the first two parts of the main vein. Second part is most important. I think I touched on it a little bit. Is does the black community understand of financial discourses, conversations, parts of the financial system, and are we educating each other about that? Not necessarily the volume of numbers and having stuff, but just understanding international banking, balance sheet, income statement, cash flow statements, how we can glean information from those things available now with the internet. A lot of this stuff is available to us immediately. You know, are we looking at this stuff? Are we investing? Do we understand our disposable income? Do we know what disposable income is? Are we budgeting rightly? Do we have control of our finances? You know, I'm talking about going and beyond opening a bank account with a bank. And like, do we understand banking? Those little CDs and their 0.5% and 0.75%, which would be a gift for saving. You know, they're using our money and expanding their wealth. Oh, they give us little pittance. You know, that's a little encouragement. You know, I got a couple $100 in savings, and they give me a nickel every once in a while. What is that? 0.0000%? But it's okay. Now that I'm starting to educate, I'm starting to employ my money in different areas and being more sensitive. You know, now that I know that they're taking my money and they're multiplied by law, they have to keep a certain percentage of my money liquid if I ever show up. You know, if I've got a lot of money registered with that bank, to get all to go liquid, then I have to put in an order. You know, the bank's not holding my money. You know what I mean? And now that it's electronic, they're even holding less of it. You know, if I want to get, you know, a couple $100, $600-700 at once, yeah, they got that. You know, they got, you know, maybe, you know, 6-7 figures liquid in a bank branch, but that's not the 10, 11, 12 digits in credit and debt that they got. Do we understand good debt, bad debt, assets, liability, you know, securities? A security can be an asset, a security can be a liability. You know, is your home an asset or a liability? If your home is not generating income after you pay all your bills, then it's a liability. If you've got renters and things and property, then it's an asset. Do you understand tax structures? You know, now that your home is an asset, there's tax advantages and concerns to be aware of. Do we understand LLC, S corp, C corp, things like that? and how they work and the advantages of participating in them. Why can these billionaires make all this money and not pay taxes? Do we understand how that works? Can we move ourselves? Can we start now and encourage the fourth or fifth generation to be in that space? If we sacrifice now and condition the minds of our family to be financially aware here in America. So that's the second part that I think Dr. Anderson is trying to make us understand and come to grips with. Now, to do that, we need to navigate politics, economics, international relations, military, a lot of stuff. Understand where we come from as slaves. I think we need to be more proud of our heritage. We need to embrace it and begin creating some celebrations behind that. I'm going to lose my time. I'm really on to something here. I want to get to the second part. We're going to do the second part of Uncle Tom's Cabin. First, finish my introduction. Dr. Claude Anderson's book, Black History Reader, 101 Questions You Never Thought to Ask, Black Labor, White Wealth, Search for Power and Economic Justice, and finally his national plan to empower Black America. Very important works that I've read, and we reference these a lot throughout this year. Behind me, hashtag us too, hashtag USTOO. It's Black women coming together. They're conversing there online. Black Enough, BLAGGENUF is another space. Oh, there is the Black Business School. Go check out Dr. Boyce Watkins and his whole package there. I don't participate financially. I'm not there yet. And I don't like subscriptions. But he let me get a taste, and I learned a lot of stuff. So I'm going to give him a shout out. But now we're going to part 2 of Uncle Tom's Cabin, Chapter 7, where they're trying to track down Eliza and stuff. Black Sam, we pick up where Black Sam has led the slave trader, Mr. Haley, down on a wild-goose chase into this fenced-in, dead-end area. We're getting this information from Harriet Beecher Stowe's phenomenal work, Uncle Tom's Cabin. So Haley's understandably angry and very disturbed about this. Now, what has happened? On their way into this dead end, they have apparently passed the inn, I call it in the notes, where Eliza and Harry have taken refuge for that last part of the evening, early morning, as they get off the road. And Eliza's looking out the window. Sam sees her, Black Sam, sees her, and he makes a distraction and a commotion, which is very successful. It alerts Eliza, because he's in the league. He doesn't want to. His heart and mind is in the right place about slavery. I don't see this Black Sam as a man practicing a meritorious manumission, trying to get his freedom. He's on the side of Black folks. He's just using a lot of comedy, and he talks a lot, and he entertains the white folks to keep them distracted. It's a form of control. Same way the Chinese smile, or the same way the Chinese may act dumb. It's every group has their coping mechanism in the face of pressure. It's a natural human trait. Everybody's got that. Black Sam's is entertainment and distraction, talking a lot, making a joke and fool out of himself though he's a stooge. So it's a successful distraction. It gets the attention of Haley, and there's another slave assistant there named Andy. But Eliza panics at seeing the men. She recognizes Sam and Andy because from the slave plantation, but she's bolts out the door, and she's running. She's gathered Harry up, and she's off to the river because the other side of the Ohio River is Ohio. That's a free state, you know. Now she's not necessarily out of the woods if she gets there, but she has, you know, the further away she gets, more time goes on, the better chance the slave has. So she's out the door now, but Haley sees her. Now Haley's on his boat, on his horse, and he's after Eliza. Eliza's barefoot now. It's still end of winter, very early spring. The ice is breaking. We talked about some of the ice flows. So the Ohio River is swollen. Ice flows are going. And this is apparently a famous scene if you were going to see Uncle Tom's Cabin in movies or theater. Kind of a famous scene of Eliza crossing the Ohio River on chunks of ice barefoot. I mean, you can't get much more riskier behavior than what she's about to do with Harry in her arms. It's impossible. Forget about it. But you'd be surprised, you know, when the adrenaline's going and you're just insane with fear and adrenaline, anything's possible. Think about the Incredible Hulk, right? Bill Bixby, he's on the search. He wants to find out how these people are lifting cars off their babies and raising trees and stuff, right? These impossible Herculean tasks. Well, Bill Bixby eventually messes around with radiation. It's popular, you know. You get some radiation, all of a sudden, you either got a superhero or a supervillain. He gets radiation and he turns into Lou Ferrigno, and he's the Hulk, you know. So this is kind of what's going on with Eliza. In this flight, some kind of guardian angel, but it's a real man, appears on the other side to help her up. She's exhausted, feet are probably bleeding and cracked, crazy, and wailing with fear, insane. The men, Haley, Andy, and Black Sam, are watching this girl cross the Ohio River on chunks of ice. Oh, it's insane. And she's asking for help. The man's like, you know, I can't really help you. But she is on free land. Fortunately, she ran into a sympathizer. But the man points her to some help and safety. The chapter finishes up with Andy. His mouth is hanging open. Sam, Sam is relieved that Eliza and Harry are away, and he's getting some. In the relief, nervous laughter comes out. Andy chimes on along. Haley's got his riding whip, and he's beating them on the heads. But it's too late, you know. It's comical. They just saw a supernatural act happen in front of them, and they're exhausted from the chase, all these things, and it's amazing. Like Harriet Stowe, the author, it's a great tension and release there in that chapter. So you know, I'm even after I finished reading, I was like, and I smiled a little bit that Eliza got away. So it's a very important and appropriate point that Harriet crafts this release, resolution. You know, in music, you have this tension, these seventh chords, diminished chords, and stuff like that, even augmented chords, and those notes have to resolve properly into a good, firm major chord. Hopefully, you know, a fifth there in the bass to really cement that chord home. You know, so there we go with end of chapter 7. We're going to find out. I don't know. I'm not sure. You're going to have to get the text yourself, which is what I encourage everyone to do. And we'll see what's going to happen, even if she's mentioned, even if Eliza is mentioned in chapter 8. But that's where we have it now. We're looking at Eliza and Harry go off the shore into the distance. Haley, he's struck Sam and Andy on their heads, but Andy and Sam are like, well, it's about late now. It's better get back to Massa Shelby's. and Haley doesn't have any power over them because Andy and Sam are concerned about the horses, getting the horses back. So they go back. They're on their horses, and they are making for the Shelby plantation, and they are well pleased with themselves at how they helped Eliza and Harry escape through their ways of subterfuge out there. So let's find me again. Listen, day 76 out of the way. We are moving right along. We are, hey, how about that? How about this for 17, or for 76, 1776, birth of the nation, this escaping, this idea of casting off oppression and change is a good segue as Eliza goes on to her freedom. She's crossed a body of water and is moving on. If you can take that leap. Anyway, come back, see me tomorrow, find out what's going on. We'll find out, Uncle Tom's Cabin. Something, we just take a little piece of Uncle Tom's Cabin. We got a whole year to work on. We'll get into some maybe some more serious subjects from Dr. Claude Anderson getting into the week. I hope you're having a great Sunday, and we'll see you next time.